Hi guys, and welcome back to another Premier League prediction video. Now last time out we got two scores correct, and they were Villa beating Forest 2-0 and Newcastle beating Brentford on the road 2-1. Glad to get two right because we haven't really been very consistent with our scores recently, but 2 is our goal and we hit it last week. Let's hope we can hit it this week. But before we get into the predictions, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more Premier League content. Let's get into my predictions. And we start off with two teams in excellent form, Aston Villa against Newcastle. Now Villa unbeaten in 7 and winning 6 of those, Ollie Watkins on fire, and they're up to 6th place. They've somehow snuck into the European setup. Could they get it at the end of the season? Now Champions League looks too far away, but Europa League and the Europa Conference League are up for grabs, and Villa are one of the top names to go and get one of those because they're just in great form. Emery's really turned it around from Gerrard, and they're starting to finally see the benefits, and they're winning constantly. But Newcastle also on a great run, 5 wins in a row. In the Champions League spots, could they get a Champions League spot at the end of the season? Will they drop out? Personally, I think they will get a Champions League spot because there's only really 2 teams that are guaranteed, Arsenal and City, and then Newcastle seem more consistent than Spurs, and United are the only other team available. So for me, Newcastle will get a top 4 spot, which would be a brilliant first full season under Eddie Howe. And I think this is a massive test there for Villa because, yes, they've been brilliant for 7 games, but they have been playing a lot of teams below them. Now they're up against a team in brilliant form. Will they manage to get some out of this one? I think it will be tight, but I've got Newcastle to win 2-1. Next up, Chelsea take on Brighton. Chelsea are really struggling. Lampard took charge last weekend of a 1-0 loss against Wolves, and then a 2-0 loss against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Chelsea haven't scored in 4 games. They need to start finding the back of the net. Defensively, they're not awful, they're okay. They create a few chances here and there as well. They're not bad at creating chances, they just can't take the chances. And you've got to think, I know Lukaku sort of fell out with the board or Thomas Tuchel at the time, but he's the perfect number 9 to come into this squad. I know a lot of people will probably laugh at that because everyone likes to take the mick out of him because his first touch is bad, but he is a clinical finisher. Stick him up front in this Chelsea side, they're not struggling like they are. They're probably knocking around 6th, 7th place at the moment, maybe even a bit higher because there's so many teams that are inconsistent. But Chelsea need that striker. Brighton were unbeaten in 5, should be unbeaten in 6, but lost 2-1 against Spurs last weekend, with probably the worst refereeing performance I have seen in a very long time. And I watch Championship football as a Blues fan, and that's pretty agonising. But VAR was awful. Everything went for Spurs. There were probably about 3 or 4 incorrect decisions that went against Brighton that would have had them winning the game easily. There should have been a penalty. Spurs should have had a man sent off. Brighton had a goal disallowed for handball that hit Matoma's shoulder. It was just shambolic, and Brighton were really screwed out of that game. And it did make me think that maybe, just maybe, the Premier League are trying to protect the Big 6 because quite a few of them are struggling at the moment, and there's an invasion. Villa, Newcastle, Brighton, Brentford. I know Fulham have dropped off a bit, but they're sitting in the top 10. There's plenty of teams that are really pushing on these Big 6 and making them look a little bit silly. Now for me, I think Chelsea's struggles may continue. I fancy Brighton. I think they're a very well oiled machine, and I think they will go and get the win 1-0. Everton face Fulham next. And this is a big game for Everton because they were unbeaten in 4. They did lose 2-0 to Man United in their last game. But the interesting thing about Everton is their home form. Last 5 home games, they've won 3, drawn 1, lost 1. So they are picking up a lot of points at home. Not many away, but that doesn't matter because they've got a chance here. Against the Fulham side, they've lost 4 in a row. They don't have Mitrovic because he's been banned. So they've got a real chance here, Everton, to go and get some vital points in their big relegation battle. And I think they'll go and do it. Everton to win 1-0. Southampton up against Palace next. Now Southampton not won in 5, really struggling. Lost their last game 4-1 against City, but that's City. They're not expected to get anything. This one will be much more important. Palace are trying to get out of this relegation battle very quickly. Hodgson took over, 2 wins in a row, 2-1 against Leicester and then 5-1 against Leeds, and it was away as well, so that's not something normally associated with Palace, big away wins, but they got one there. I think Vieira would have done a similar job, but I can't take away from the good short-term plan that Hodgson has put in place. It's working, and you'd have to think a win here against bottom of the league Southampton would bring them to safety. So Palace to win 2-1. Spurs up against Bournemouth next. Big game for both sides. Spurs chasing those Champions League spots. Bournemouth chasing survival in the Premier League. Now Spurs unbeaten in 4. They got that dodgy win against Brighton last week, 2-1. All the refereeing decisions went to Spurs. As I mentioned earlier, probably the worst refereed match I have watched in a very long time, but it happens. The Premier League will say, oh, swings and roundabouts. It's really not. It's protection of the big 6. But what can you do? These things happen in football. They get decisions wrong. They do it on purpose sometimes, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I also wouldn't be surprised if Bournemouth went and dominated this game and then the refs just let Spurs win. And I know I'm going a bit hard, and this is nothing against Spurs. It's more against the refs and their complete and utter shambolic decisions that they give every couple of weeks. There'll just be a game that's awful, or there'll be decisions that are awful. Do you remember a few months ago when they were giving out yellow cards for the 3rd player that ran up and basically shouted at the ref for a decision? Since that weekend and the weekend after, I've seen it happen loads and I haven't seen a yellow card given. It's just no consistency whatsoever. But it's the refs in the Premier League. They're very, very poor. Bournemouth are in okay form, to be fair. They've picked up 4 wins in their last 8 games, so winning half will bring them to safety, you'd imagine. I have got a feeling, however, Spurs, they do have quality. They will probably get the job done here, but Bournemouth can pull off this odd surprise. Spurs to win 2-1. Wolves take on Brentford. Wolves are chasing safety. Brentford still chasing those European places, but probably from a bit of a distance. However, we have seen Villa just fly up the table very randomly, so Brentford aren't out of touch just yet. Now Wolves are in okay form, 2 games unbeaten. They beat Chelsea 1-0 last time out, which was a very big win, and it's a game that, although Chelsea aren't in great form, they're not expected to win. So to be fair, it's kind of like getting some bonus points. I know that sounds stupid, but a lot of the time, if you win the games against the teams around you, you'll be okay. Chelsea are a step above them, but it's a big bonus. So well done to Wolves for that. Brentford lost 2 in a row against Man United and Newcastle. They've been pretty decent in both games at keeping it quite tight and low scoring. Brentford, I think, are a very good side. They have the quality over Wolves, but I've just got this feeling that Wolves are going to kind of ride this wave now out till the end of the season, picking up decent points against teams above them and picking up wins against the ones below them. So Wolves to get another point in their bid for safety, 1-1. City take on Leicester. 2 teams in opposite veins of form and at opposite ends of the table. Man City, top form, chasing down Arsenal still, and they cannot stop winning. Haaland can't stop scoring. And they've been that impressive at the moment that they actually managed to pick up a 3-0 victory over Bayern Munich, who were undefeated in the Champions League this season, in midweek. Top performance, and it pretty much sees them through to the semi-final, because they're not going to go and lose by a 3-goal margin in Germany. So they should be okay. They've obviously got to keep their composure and not get complacent, but that's City in the semi-final. So well done to Man City for that brilliant performance. And they're up against a Leicester side that haven't had many brilliant performances lately at all. Not 1 in 8, losing 7 of those, so 1 point out of 8 games. Very poor, and it's why they're in the relegation zone at the moment. And this isn't going to get any easier today. However, they do have a new manager. Dean Smith has came in to take charge. I don't think it's a great appointment at all. I don't think it's the right person for the job. I think there were better options for short term to keep them in the Premier League, and then they go for someone else in the summer. But instead, they went for Dean Smith. Sure, I don't know if it's going to help them to safety, but they've definitely got the players to be safe. So it's whether he can sort of rejuvenate these players and get them into the right frame of mind to go and get the wins that they need. New manager bounces work strangely. You never know. They could go and help Arsenal out today by getting a win over City or a draw. Can't see it though. City to win 3-1. West Ham up against Arsenal. Again, two teams at opposite ends of the table, but West Ham are in slightly better form than Leicester were. West Ham have picked up a few wins recently, better at home, but they won away last time out against Fulham, and it lifted them out of the relegation zone, somewhere where they really shouldn't be. I don't know what's happened to West Ham this season. They have been awful, but they've got a lot of quality there. It wouldn't be right for them to get relegated. Similar to Leicester, these two sides are way too good to be where they are, but they're having bad seasons at the same time. It's a shame for them, but they are managing to fight their way out. West Ham are anyway. Arsenal can't stop winning, but then they did. 2-2 against Liverpool, not a bad result at all. City lost at Anfield earlier in the season. Arsenal got a point. So they've picked up more points against Liverpool at Anfield this season than City have, but it's kind of going to be interesting to see how they bounce back from that, because really they need a win. City are playing an awful Leicester side that can't pick up points to save their lives, so Arsenal need a win here. West Ham will want to put the pressure on them, but I think Arsenal will comfortably run out 3-0 winners. Forest against Man U. Forest, no wins in 9, losing 6 of those, and losing 2 in a row. The last one, 2-0 to Villa, a score that we did get correct. Man United won 2 league games in a row, haven't conceded in those 2, but had some injury problems over the week in the Europa League. Drew 2-2 with Sevilla. Harry Maguire scores an own goal in the last minute. It looked so comfortable, but then Rashford went off, Varane went off, Lisandro Martinez went off, and it looks a bit worrying. Hopefully those players will be okay in the coming weeks. Lisandro Martinez will not be. He is going to miss the rest of the season, which could be vital because he's been such a brilliant part of this side, and centre-backs aren't great for United. Once you get past Varane and Martinez, Lindelof and Maguire aren't really of the quality that they need to put maximum pressure on this top 4 spot. So it will be interesting to see how they cope without Martinez, but I've got faith that they will stay on to get in the top 4. I'm going to go for United to get the win here. Forest at home can be tricky. They are much worse away than they are at home. They have been picking up a few draws at home, but I've got the feeling United will edge it 2-1. Leeds versus Liverpool, and for this game, it's just a feeling. It's the final game, and Leeds lost 5-1 last time out at home against Palace. Very poor. They were 1-0 up. They went into half time with it being 1-1, but something happened in that second half and they just capitulated. But they do tend to pick up more points at home. Liverpool really poor away. They do not pick up enough points away at all, and that's the reason they're terrible this season. Terrible's a bit harsh, but for their standards that they've set recently, it is terrible. A lot of people are saying, oh, Liverpool are crap. They're not. At home, they are very, very strong. They've picked up plenty of points at home, but their away form is just awful. I don't really know what's happened there. They just go to stadiums and struggle. It's strange. But that is the reason I'm going to go for a bit of a shocking result. Leeds got the better over Liverpool earlier on in the season, and it was actually Liverpool's first loss at Anfield for, I believe it was for like 2 years in the Premier League, or over 2 years, something ridiculous like that. But Leeds got the job done last time, and I think Leeds will get a point this time. Maybe shocking, but 1-1. So, those are my predictions for this round of Premier League fixtures. Make sure to get your predictions down in the comments, like and subscribe. Now, I also do YouTube Shorts. I do Birmingham City predictions over there. They're a minute long. I also talk about manager appointments and manager sackings. And in the transfer window, when the season's over, I'll be talking about transfers on Shorts. I'll be talking about plenty of little quick topics that you can get involved in. I think it's an interesting concept, and I'm hoping to make my channel a little bit more interactive with people that watch it, because I understand that if I'm just doing a prediction video, all you can really do is put predictions in the comments. There's not much interaction going on. So I am trying to make it a bit more interesting for you guys. So if you'd like to get involved, head over to my YouTube Shorts and just check them out. I do tend to do 3-4 a week, so it's just a bit of extra content to keep you engaged with my channel, I guess. Those are my predictions, and hopefully some of them come in, and I hope it's a good weekend of Premier League football.